All right, welcome everyone to our English 10 reteach. Thank you for watching this recording. I know that it's a little bit different since we aren't in class, but I will be at the Renaissance Fair tomorrow, so I hope to see you there for the high school outing. So thank you for being here. All right, our theme is This is my time to rise. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. This is my time to work hard, to learn, to achieve, to grow, to prepare, and to have joy in my accomplishments. This is AZVA in pursuit of excellence, and my time is now. Our objective for today. Together, we will go over some of the questions and answers of the Unit 5 test. After, you will have the opportunity to get extra points back on your test. So when I was looking at the Unit 5 test, it looked like the majority of you missed questions on the reading Nixon resigns. Now this is in your online textbook, and that might be why some of you were thrown off because you were so focused on the text they provided in the test and may not have remembered some of the specifics of the article that was in the online textbook that you read earlier in the lessons. So we aren't going to read that aloud because that's about 7 pages long. It is on page 62 of your online textbook. So you do need to open that and read it as we go over the questions right now, as well as your survey that you will be taking at the very end to get points back. You will have to refer to that online textbook. So we're going to go ahead and look at 5 questions that you missed. Remember, when I go over this, I'm looking at the questions that the majority of you missed. So you may not have missed this question, but we are looking at the scores as a whole. So the question, refer to explorations in literature for a complete version of this article. Read this excerpt from Nixon Resigns by Carol Kilpatrick. In his acceptance speech on August 8, 1968, the nominee appealed for victory to make the American dream come true for millions of Americans. To the leaders of the communist world we say, after an era of confrontation, the time has come for an era of negotiation, Nixon said. How do the details of this excerpt shape the central idea that Nixon had good intentions for his time as president? So obviously this is a recording and we don't have those polling tools, so I want you to think about it in your head which answer it is. A, they show that Nixon had plans to make dreams come true and negotiate for world peace. B, they highlight that Nixon had plans to overthrow the communists. C, they illustrate Nixon's need for the American people to admire him. Or D, they indicate that Nixon had plans for domestic and international improvements. The correct answer is D. They indicate that Nixon had plans for domestic and international improvements. I went ahead and highlighted the word central idea because that's what it's looking for. Domestic and international improvement. So domestic means the country that he's in. And since he was president of the United States, we're looking at that domestic region. So he had plans for the United States as well as international, so other countries. And we can see that this is the correct answer because it talks about, at the beginning of the questions, the victory to make the American dream come true, as well as talking to the leaders of the communist world, we say. So he is talking to both the Americans as well as the communist world. So domestic and international. Question number 2. So once again, refer to the explorations in literature for a complete version of this article. Reading the excerpt, Nixon resigns. Largely because of his breakthroughs in negotiations with China and the Soviet Union, and partly because of divisions in the Democratic Party, Mr. Nixon won a mammoth election and victory in 1972, only to be brought down by scandals that grew out of an excessive zeal to make certain he would win re-election. How do the details of this excerpt best develop the central idea that Nixon's resignation is tied to the Watergate scandal? Best develop. What that means is there are a couple answers that seem very close, so you're looking for that best answer. A, they indicate that Nixon was overly focused on winning a second term and willing to do anything to secure victory. B, they illustrate Nixon's negotiation skills were helpful overseas, but not with his own government. C, they show that even with the Democrats' lack of unity, the Republicans still focused on ensuring their candidate's electoral triumph. Or D, they provide insight into ways peace negotiations could not overshadow Nixon's eagerness to defeat his political opponents. The correct answer is A. They indicate that Nixon was overly focused on winning a second term and willing to do anything to secure victory. So right here, we are thinking of inferencing. Remember, inferencing is using that best guess by looking at the text. We can see that after the line, out to be brought down by scandals that grew out of an excessive zeal to make certain he would win re-election. So thinking of that word, to make certain. So he did what he had to make sure he won. And we're inferring that to the Watergate scandal because the whole article talks about that as well. So as you can see, some of these questions, it really does need you to remember what also was said in the complete article. So even though some of these are just excerpts, it does want you to look back at the full article for those inferencing and those prior knowledge. Question number 3. Once again, referring to the article. This, more than anything, is what I hoped to achieve when I sought the presidency, Mr. Nixon said. This, more than anything, is what I hope will be my legacy to you, to our country, as I leave the presidency. How does Nixon's formal language affect the tone of this statement reported in the article? A, it creates a confident tone that shows he believes people remember him well. B, it creates a heavy-hearted tone that shows Nixon possesses remorse. C, it creates an indifferent tone that shows Nixon is unconcerned with the events. Or D, it creates a cynical tone that shows he is in disbelief of his situation. The correct answer is B. It creates a heavy-hearted tone that shows Nixon possesses remorse. So looking at this small excerpt here, think about how this shows remorse. And remorse is another word for feeling bad about or feeling guilty. He talks about his legacy. He talks about what he hoped to have achieved. So he does feel bad about what he's done, but shows us that he is sorry that he has to leave. Question number 4, again from the excerpts. But why did the president always rely on Ehrlichman and Haldeman? The official was asked. Will we ever know, he replied. When Mr. Nixon was vice president, he recalled, he demanded that we never abuse the franking privilege. If there was any doubt, we were to use stamps. Everything had to be above board. Surely his friendship with Ehrlichman and Haldeman was one of those most expensive in history. Which statement best explains how the use of language affects the tone? Again, using that word best, we can already have an idea that some of these answers may work, but we're looking for that best answer. A, it creates a formal and skeptical tone. B, it creates a formal and bewildered tone. C, it creates an informal and perplexed tone. Or D, it creates an informal and bemused tone. The answer is C, it creates an informal and perplexed tone. When you think about perplexed, you're thinking about questioning. So we can see already by just the punctuation, there are lots of question marks. So we have our author questioning. Our last question, question number 5, from the excerpt. There are tears in the eyes of some of the secretaries in the press office. Others, who have been through many crises in recent years and have become used to overwork, plowed ahead with their duties, with telephones ringing incessantly. Which statement best explains how the details of this excerpt contribute to the central idea that Nixon's resignation is a disheartening event? So this is different than the other questions where it's asking you what the central idea is. This is giving you the central idea and asking which statement supports this central idea. A, the reference to overwork suggests that people are sad they have so much to do during this time. B, the telephones that ring incessantly indicate that people are too busy dealing with the resignation to answer the phone. C, the melancholy secretaries indicate that the resignation of Nixon is a somber event. Or D, the gloomy mood and informal tone of the excerpt suggests that the resignation is a dismal and historical event. And the answer is C. The melancholy secretaries indicate that the resignation of Nixon is a somber event. So melancholy means sad, kind of that somber, very sad attitude. And for our secretaries to be sad, they're not going to answer those phones. They are going to feel very overworked with the phones and duties. All right, so what is next? So attached to this announcement is a survey, and the survey is going to ask you some questions and some inferencing. So you do need to look at the actual online source to answer these questions. It's on page 62. The 509 assignment is due on Monday. Make sure it's 3 to 4 pages with a works cited page. The works cited page does not include the 3 to 4 pages. Spring break starts next Thursday, the 15th. That means you need to get work in. I will not be available tomorrow because I'm going to go to the Renaissance Festival. I hope you're there. If your parents want to volunteer for AZ Merit, which is in April, I did post that in the announcement, so they can absolutely volunteer. They just need to follow those directions. And if you have any questions, make sure you're coming to tutoring and help. Thank you so much for watching this recording, and I will be here for you on Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.